Hi guys, so what I've got for you today is hopefully a new series of videos, and it's one where I look at games on the SNES. So back in the day, growing up when I was pretty young, I had a Mega Drive. So I basically had little to no exposure to the SNES. I would have been, I don't know, 6 or 7 when I got the Mega Drive. And so as a young child, you don't have that much exposure to what else is available. And so I had that Mega Drive for a good few years, and I went straight from the Mega Drive to an N64. And it was only really then that I got exposed to Nintendo games. And a game or a series that I really liked, always liked, was F-Zero, both on the N64 and the GameCube. But until recently, I'd never played the SNES version. And so, fairly recently, I picked up a Mr. FPGA, and so I'm able to kind of play these old consoles in basically pretty much perfect when compared to the original systems. And so the SNES is a system that I know very little about, apart from the games that pretty much came across to the Mega Drive, and maybe some other systems too. And so, it's a chance to kind of discover what was available when I was playing my Mega Drive, basically. So, F-Zero on the SNES came out in 1990. It was a launch title with the SNES, and I mean the graphics are just incredible, really. I could not imagine the Mega Drive being able to do this. I mean, this obviously uses the kind of famous Mode 7 that was available on the SNES to do all these sprite scaling effects. And so, I guess in addition to liking the F-Zero series, I also quite like the sprite scaling aesthetic. Big fan of some of the particularly 80s sprite scaling games. I recently did a video on Slipstream, an arcade game from Capcom in the mid-90s that was using sprite scaling, and I really like that aesthetic. It's obviously almost not meant to be realistic. It's almost cartoony, but still looks pretty good. And the thing about F-Zero here, I mean, the speed that it runs is incredible. It's pushing a lot of sprites. Maybe it's not quite as crisp as some of the big Sega Superscaler games in the arcade, but this is a home console, and this is 1990 as well. So it's it's not long after some of those Superscaler games were available in the arcades, and so to be able to play a game like this that runs so quickly and looks so good is quite incredible for 1990. So here you see I'm using this pink car. I can't remember the names of the cars. I guess the only car that almost anyone knows is the one that we can see in front of us. The Blue Falcon, and Captain Falcon being probably the most famous character from the F-Zero series. But I'll just take that. So yeah, in terms of the options, it's obviously less featured than some of the later N64 or GameCube releases. You've got 4 cars to choose from, and you basically have 4 main competitors that you see here. These are each of the unique cars that are available. It does try to put other cars on track that you'll see. Even if you're in the lead, you still have presumably what they suggest are back markers that you have to pass. It's really just putting some mobile chicanes or mobile roadblocks on the screen for you to manage. And the difference between these cars, this particular pink car, and one of the reasons I'm using it, is that the different cars have different weights, and those weights influence the ratio of kind of top speed and acceleration, but also handling. So this particular car is much more planted in its handling. Some of the other cars are much more sort of slidey in the way they move. and particularly for a beginner, I guess, you know, I find the handling of this much easier to control. The only downside is that you've got this slow acceleration. So it's a case of usually the first lap you sort of just try and keep up with some of the competitors, but then once you can get to those higher speeds, you can actually go pretty quickly, and it's a case of trying to maintain that high speed for as long as you can. Because yeah, if you hit anything and lose your speed, then you slow right down. In terms of modes, you know, I mentioned that it's kind of not as fully featured. Basically, you've got, I guess in the same way some of the later F-Zero series, each of the cups, and there's 4 or 5 tracks in each cup, and that is pretty much the entire game. It's only a single player, so you've got no multiplayer that was possible in Mario Kart on the SNES, and so you race against the computer or for time trial, and it's really a race against the clock and the competitors. And really, actually, that's fine. If we think of it compared to an arcade game, you know, that's all you've got in an arcade game. It is the game, and I think the game here, you know, stands up to comparison to some of those games. I think the gameplay is really excellent. I was actually sort of shocked when I played this, that this was on a 16-bit home system and played as well as it did, and actually, in part, you know, made me want to explore the SNES library more, because, as I say, I just really don't know much about it. So, I mean, if there are great SNES games that you think I should play, just give me a shout. I mean, the only games I have played, I mean, I played Chrono Trigger. I mean, it's difficult to avoid that and know how great a game that is. And I played the Mario RPG game as well, long time ago on emulation. So really, the rest of that library is pretty much fair game for me to try. I mean, anything that came out on the Mega Drive, I may have played or I may be familiar with. But anything else, especially the Nintendo exclusives or the any other system exclusives that came out, you know, my plan is to give it a go, especially these sort of mode 7 scaling games. So I mentioned that I was playing this on the Mister. I've got the kind of picture of my setup there. I'm actually playing on the CRT there. It's a JVC monitor, and the capture that you're seeing is from an svideo capture device. So these JVC monitors don't have RGB, but they've got svideo, and I'm basically just taking the output of that, of what I'm seeing on screen, and displaying it there. I also mentioned that playing this on the Mister. So I mean, I've been really impressed with the Mister. For me personally, I bought it mostly for playing console games like this, the Neo Geo, the NES, because, you know, you'll also see in that picture I've got lots of maybe the later consoles, but I don't really have the space, you know, or the budget in some ways for all of the earlier sort of 16-bit consoles, and the Mister does a superb job of, I mean, it's not emulation, but simulating these consoles. So yeah, I thought basically I would just make this little video, show a little bit of the F-Zero footage. It's also a little bit of a test of my capture. I've been messing around with OBS recently. So yeah, hopefully you found this interesting, and I'll try to come again maybe next week, maybe the following week, with another SNES game, and tell you a bit more about that and, you know, some of my thoughts. So yeah, you guys have a good day, and I'll catch you soon.